Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply. In this video is to bring you a closer look at the Compx number NLC8109KA915 26D. This is a cam lock. This is a pin tumbler style cam lock. And let's remove it from the packaging and we'll take a closer look at it. This is a bit of an unusual cam lock only because it's a much longer than standard cam lock, which just means you're installing it onto a material thickness greater than your typical 3/4 inch or 13/16 drawer or cabinet fronts. Okay, this is a very similar lock to an Olympus lock. Okay, so obviously it's incredibly long. Okay, this is going to work with a maximum material thickness of 1.5 inches. Pin tumbler. Your spring cover that's here. Obviously pinning this would probably be via top loading, I would imagine. I've never taken one of these apart to pin them. The fact that there's a spring cover tells me it's possible to top load it. So this is a 8109. This is for 1.3 inch. It has 1.75 inch cylinder length, and the way that they measure these is they actually measure the length of the body itself, and you can see the body before the tailpiece is what that 1.75 inch is coming in at. Okay, this would be for a maximum material thickness of 1.5 inches because they need to have room to get the threaded nut on here. This is going to include, of course, 2 original keys. It's the 915 key, which means every time that you order a 915, it's going to be combinated the same way. It'll have the same cuts on the key. Okay. It's also going to include the anti-rotation plate that you would mount when you remove the screw. These pieces come off. The anti-rotation plate will sit inside of the body and will prevent that from turning. Okay. Also going to include a bezel or a cylinder collar. It will include the anti-rotation plate for a wood application. Those 2 prongs will sink into the back of the wood and help prevent that from rotating. You will get a different tailpiece as well, but this there's a different tailpiece, but it's going to provide a different operation, a different cam rotation to get it locked, and we're going to discover that in a moment. Let's take a look closer at this cylinder. Now I've removed the cam that was on the unit, and there are 2 different cams that are here, and they are symmetrically opposite of each other of where the teats are on there, and the preparation onto the cam is what is going to allow you to have the cam operate in a given direction. Okay, because of these stops that are on here, this cam will rotate counterclockwise, whereas the other cam is going to rotate only, it will rotate only clockwise. Sorry, had that on backwards. Okay, that cam rotates clockwise. This cam will rotate the opposite direction because where those stops are prepped on the cams, they're symmetrically opposite of each other. And this has a built-in, stop feature on the back of the cylinder plug itself that allows those cams to operate in one of those 2 directions. So you're also going to receive on the back of this, well, since we're here, the anti-rotation plate would go on. Okay. There is, interestingly enough, there is not a screw included with that. You'll need, obviously, to provide a screw, and that does all but prevent that from rotating at all when you screw that to the door. This is called the spur washer. That will, again, bite into the back of your wood if you have a wood application, preventing it from rotating. Your bezel your cylinder trim ring. Okay, nice attractive look there. Of course, that threaded nut, it's going to go on and down. There's one other piece that's here. This timing cam. There's a name for that. Let's pull up what that name is. It's called a lost motion cam shifter. That is what will allow you to have the unit operate in a lazy action sort of scenario, which you would certainly certainly require on a lock like this. When we put this back together, okay. The cam goes on, then your lost, or lazy action, I should say, cam shifter, is what's going to permit, depending on how you install it, is what's going to permit the lazy action of the tailpiece. Lazy action is actually the industry term for a tailpiece that will operate in a sense that when you insert the key, and you turn the key, let's say that you will then throw the tailpiece. Okay, you'll move the tailpiece, but the lazy action is what will permit you to return the key back to the pull position so that you can, of course, remove the key when the unit is in the locked or the unlocked position. And without it being able to operate as a lazy action tailpiece, you would actually never really be able to operate the unit otherwise. And you're going to want to make sure that when you, you will certainly take it apart to get it installed to the door. You want to make sure that it operates correctly. Because the first time that I just installed this, I had it timed so that it would certainly work. It just was leaving the tailpiece loose so that it could be rotated. Point being, when you reinstall that, you want to make sure that when the key is removed, that the tailpiece can't be lloyded, okay, in either direction. Okay, so what happens, lazy action, you rotate. Well, let's say that right now we are in the unlocked position, horizontal. Okay, it's a drawer, so let's say it's unlocked. You insert the key, you turn it to get the tailpiece locked up and into the top of the drawer, and you remove the key. Now it's locked in place. And that lost motion cam shifter, this piece, is what prevents that from being able to still move when the key is in the removed condition. You could set that cam shifter backwards so that I would be able to basically rotate it with the key removed, and you obviously don't want that. So be mindful of that. This other cam allows you, we're operating in the clockwise fashion now. The other cam will allow you to operate in the opposite fashion, okay? Should you need to operate in the opposite fashion, counterclockwise. Let's switch this camera view to the screen so we can take a look at the manufacturer's catalog. I think that would be helpful. Okay, so this is the item that we're looking at in this site. Each lock comes with one stop washer, which allows the cam to turn 90 degrees, which is what we're calling the lazy action cam shifter. Will work on left or right hand drawers because they include both of those cams, as you can see here. For overlay application, the combined thickness of the front and frame cannot exceed the cylinder length. So what they're talking about there in an overlay application is when you would have a drawer, you can have your drawer front sit inside of here. Okay, here's your drawer. The drawer goes out. Your lock goes through the door. Okay, your cam locks in here. But in an overlay application, what they're saying is I have a drawer front like this. So now my lock body has to get all the way through here, okay, for it to lock. So they're saying that the total thickness cannot exceed. Well, how are they terming that? For overlay application, the combined thickness of front and frame cannot exceed the cylinder length. So the front and frame, okay, that's easy. Key removed in both locked and unlocked positions. That means it's not key retaining. They do not address the possibility of making this a key retained lock, meaning that you can only remove the key in a particular, you can only remove the key when you have relocked the lock. So let's imagine that the drawer is locked. You insert the key, you unlock it, you open the drawer. While the drawer is held open, you cannot remove the key until you close the drawer and then relock the lock, or you relock the lock to remove the key. So we're going to get to the manufacturer's catalog and see if they talk about non-key retaining. Supplied with 2 keys, trim washer, spur washer, mounting nut, 2 cams. Stock keying is available. Key to light, key differently. All kinds of different keying can be done. Cylinder length, 1 3/4 max thickness. We've talked about that in a 915. Let's click on the link to the manufacturer's page as seen here, where we can pull up the product catalog. And this part number is an 8109. I'll perform a find function on the keyboard for 8109, and I will certainly find that. It happens to be on page 5. Okay, and here is page 5, 8109, lipped or overlay, your specifications. Talking about how many key changes are possible, 850. I'm not familiar with the pinning system of how many steps are in this system, how many depths there are. So coming up with 850 different changes. It is it's a 4-pin system. 850 divided by 4 divided by 4. Yeah, it's hard to say how many. I'm just trying to guess in terms of how many steps there are in the system. It could be a 5-depth system, is what it could be. Hard to say. Would have to research that to know how they come up. You know, they come up with 850 via a certain method. It could be they have 6 steps, 6 different cuts or depths. Anyway, the point of the matter is, you've got this table here that will show you the other lengths, is the bottom line, okay? They do illustrate that overlay that we had just demonstrated earlier. So your cylinder length really has to come into play. Obviously, throwing into the mix an offset cam will allow you to use a shorter cylinder length. Okay, this is called a double D prep, and this is the type of prep that you would do in a steel cabinet or a filing cabinet face. If you're doing wood, you'll just drill a round hole. There are punches that are made. We sell tools to make this double D prep. We don't sell them often, but I have sold it in the past. The straight cam, that's here. And they talk about position of shifter on back of lock. So they go into detail of what I was stammering through earlier in terms of how to arrange that. If you want to, you just have to stack the shifter according to this diagram. So you can position it either way with either cam. You have to pick the cam that you need to make that happen. Through the use of a shifter, the 360-degree key turns cam 90 degree in either direction. Actual application determines which cam position is the lock position. Each lock is furnished with an alternate cam for opposite cam turn. So you can leave it locked in the horizontal position, or you can leave it locked in the vertical position. You can have it rotate counterclockwise, you can have it rotate clockwise. However you like. That's accomplished from one of the two cams that you'll get and how you apply the shift around the back. Okay, that's the benefit of this manufacturer's catalog page. Now there are some additional interesting pages to look at here. So we looked at page 5 of the different locks. If we get down to page 23, we're going to see the different cams available for pin tumbler locks, which is what we're working on. We have a pin tumbler lock. Okay, all their profiles and their sizes are available here. We're not doing disc tumbler, so avoid these. They're different. We're doing pin tumbler cams, so these are available. We get to page 24, and it's going to show us the key blanks that are used. Pin tumbler blanks. Okay. We would certainly be looking at a D4291. We've got a 4-pin tumbler. Yeah, D4291. Okay. Now we get to page 26, and that's neat because it shows us the pinning kit as I had talked about earlier. There are actually 9 depths in this system for pin tumblers. How they're coming up to 850 would require that I know the maximum adjacent cut specification. I don't know what it is on this system. You know, it's probably 4 or 5. You know, how close the adjacent cuts can be to each other. You know, it could be 5 times 5 times 5. No, it's going to probably, it might be 6. It may be 6. And they might discard some key numbers to get to the 850. You know, you wouldn't want a key that's 11111. You know, so they're so they're going to be discarding some of those. So the max could be 6. 6 to the 4th power, because there are 4 chambers. That number is 1296. Well, if you and this is guesswork. I don't know what it is. I'd have to call them and ask. But if you reduce from your key bitting array all of those keys that are no good, like any key that would be 2222. You know, you might want to discard any keys that are 2323, you know, that are very close to each other. The key that I have here has 2 cuts that are successive next to each other, and they're probably going to also discard any keys that will have the same depth cut in more than 2 positions. So when you reduce all of those, when you eliminate all those keys for poor etiquette, sure, you're going to get from 1296 to 850 probably pretty quick. But if you were to service these locks, this would be the pinning kit that you would use. Pin tumbler key, the D6676. 5-pin tumbler depth keys, set of 10 keys. So those are depth keys. So what they're going to do is send you 10 keys. It'll be cut all 0s, then all 1s, then all 2s, and all 3s. And that's when you have a lock in your hand and you're trying to decode what the pin is. I don't think it would really work well with this because this is a top-loaded cylinder. So there's going to be some guesswork there. But anyway, this deep dive into the keying structure behind all of this is probably less than germane to the original conversation. What will be certainly most applicable to you is that page 5, where it's just going to show you the different cylinders, you know, available to you in terms of the length. So let your maximum material thickness dictate your part number, your finish. You're good to go at that point. Okay. Did I say D4291? I sure hope I did, because that is the key blank. D4291. That would be on page 23. D4291. 4-pin tumbler. Anyway, let's finish up this video on the camera. Okay, now the name Compx is literally synonymous with high-quality cam locks. They have cam locks for every application. I'm partial to Compx, and they are by no means the only high-quality cam lock manufacturer there is. I'm partial to them, however, because I have called their office several times. I have asked technical questions 100% of those calls. It's been a technical call, and a couple of times I've had to call more than once, but I always get the answer, and I get a very happy, cherry, professional answer by people who are just they know the cam lock business. Speaking of the cam lock business, if you were to click the link below this video to the manufacturer's page, you'll be able to get to the manufacturer's, to the resources that we have for this manufacturer. There are all the Compx products that we sell, the manufacturer's website, the full line catalog, but then there's a link to the Compx manufacturer's main download page. Well, they get into several and many other derivative lock lines under there, like Chicago. You would think of that as what they would call an ace key, or a tubular key, or a key that you would see in a vending machine, or a coin-operated washer dryer. So under that name, under this Compx name, there are other names like Chicago, like Timberline. If you're looking for hardware to be able to lock filing cabinets or drawers, they have integrated systems that will allow you to do that. And that link to the main download page will get you pretty good access to it. In our site, if you know Timberline, or if you know, any of the other, National, if you know any of the other derivative company names under that umbrella, you'll find all of the information available for that manufacturer. But if you're looking for a cam lock, I've not encountered a scenario that Compx couldn't supply it. I had a customer who wanted their cam lock to not only take the threaded nut, but to take the spring clip as well. Well, the spring clip forces a requirement of literally slicing into the body so that the spring clip can fit in and hold it in. And where you'll see spring clips will be in commercial restroom equipment, paper towel holders, and they will do it. They will quote the project. They will slice those bodies. You have to tell them how thick the material is. But if you wanted to hold it on with a spring clip or a threaded nut, they accommodated that request. Anyway, if you have any questions on the NLC8109KA915 and a satin chrome finish, or any other Compx product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.